Welcome to week 4 of our Transitioning to Motherhood podcast. This week we focus on communication as a source of connection, especially during seasonal change. And our guest today is Maruko Breland. And I just wanted to ask her to give us a quick introduction in her experience, how she became a mother.
Hi, yes, I'm Maruko. I am a mother of two. I have one son who is 7 years old and one daughter who is now 1 year old. Today I will be sharing about my experience becoming a mom of two, having my daughter, and she was actually born premature. And so I wanted to share about that journey of our family going through this unexpected transition into having our second child and the challenges that we faced with that, but also the tremendous lessons that we learned.
Well, the theme of today's podcast is communication, especially with your partner and your family and the people around you, but especially part of becoming a mother is actually creating a relationship with the father, and communication there is key. So how would you say did your communication change for you after you actually became a mother?
Yeah, that's a great question. The communication with my husband, Nathan, it changed a lot after having children. First off, you become busier, right? Taking on this new role of parent and taking care of all of their needs. And before that, of course, my husband and I, we had a lot more time to talk with each other and just share openly with each other every day. But then after having children, then, you have diaper changes, feedings, lack of sleep. And so that amount of time does shrink quite a bit. And so the amount of communication maybe sometimes does become a little less. In the beginning, it was quite challenging, right? Not only with how little time we perhaps had, but also because from becoming a mom, my body is also going through tremendous recovery and a lot of hormones coming into play with my mood. I didn't know what was happening in my own mind and body. And then my husband also was perhaps confused because he also is new to this, right? Sometimes I forgot that he also is new to this. Sometimes I also did expect of him to know exactly what I needed and what I was going through. I think after, spending a couple of weeks in that stage, we did then decide that maybe it was time to seek out our larger village, I guess you could say, our community. And so we sought out these mentors, and that was just such a great decision, looking back on it, because they could look at our situation so objectively. The two of us, we were steeped in this experience so deeply, and we couldn't see from outside, right? Our mentor, she talked about how it is important to voice your concerns and your needs to your husband very clearly. If you really need something, he won't be able to read your mind. It's important to know that he wants to help you. He's there. He wants to support you in every way that he can, but he didn't just give birth. He doesn't necessarily know what you need. And so it's important that you voice those things. And then she also talked with my husband to say, a lot of what she's going through actually is postpartum hormonal things. It is physiological, and how to also make sure that she's, and also feeling filled herself. She also is figuring that out. And so please be patient with her. Be patient and try to be as stable as you can, because she needs you to be, that kind of rock in the family. And so that was really helpful for us to hear from that.
Just throughout this very tumultuous time, what would you say was the hardest thing for you to talk about with your husband?
That I needed help. I really wanted to feel like I could do it, that I was independent, and that wasn't burdening my husband. But at the same time, my body was in pain. And I could tell that I was kind of over exerting my body, pushing it a little bit too much. And I was starting to worry about my recovery process, especially if, I wanted to recover well and perhaps have more children in the future. And, but I felt a big kind of block to expressing that I need help.
I have to say, as an experience, I think a lot of us women and mothers can feel profoundly, and also especially as women, this big thing, the big asking for help when we're being taught and you have to be self-sufficient and independent and strong. And actually, motherhood especially is a very vulnerable time, and that's the
Yes.
time, band together and ask for help. This is not a time to tough it out, because like you said, in the long term, it could be very dangerous for our own personal, physical, mental, emotional recovery if we didn't seek help in this very vulnerable time. A child cannot survive without his parents, and as parents, we also cannot thrive without the support of a family and community at large. So I just wanted to ask, from reaching out to your mentors, after the wonderful advice they gave you and the perspective they gave, how your communication with your partner, how did it become better, or how do you feel you learned to communicate better?
Yeah, I think definitely from my side, I did start to communicate my needs more clearly. And but I also did realize that I had to be aware of also what he needed to be as well, and what his needs were. That started out well. But then, I think a part of me also started to get comfortable in that, right? Oh, my husband is here. And since my daughter was in the NICU, of course, my son needed care, but he wasn't allowed in the NICU because that's just their policy for the sake of the baby. And so somebody had to take care of my son, right? So my husband was actually, he had to take time off from work at that time. So this was definitely a trial and error time period of learning to communicate my needs effectively, at the same time learning what needs should be communicated to him, but also what needs actually could be provided from a different source. We sat down to have an honest conversation about what is the best move forward for our family. Yes, the baby is so important, so precious, a gift from God. And she is fighting for her life, and that is a scary thing. But at the same time, our son, our 7-year-old son, is here, and he needs care as well, right? We made this decision together to kind of not divide and conquer, but to make a plan where my husband would spend a lot more time with my son. Normally, my husband is at work. During that time, though, he had so much more time to spend with my son, and that was such an important bonding experience for them. During that time, my husband, he would take my son out bike riding, or, challenge him, can you ride this entire parking lot, with your bike? And he was just learning. And when I could see that my son was experiencing so much more from his day than just staying with me in the NICU. And so that one honest conversation that we had, where my husband, he kind of sat us down. And I think he did trust me, though, that even though it would be hard for me, I would ultimately say, you're right. I don't necessarily like it, but you're right. And we want what's best for our family.